I think Pete Rose would be in the Hall of Fame if he would have been a Toastmaster and heard that speech. I think would have gone to jail. Anyway, how would any of you guys? How would your parents react if you told them you were going to go spend a summer in Colombia? How would your parents feel about that? They probably wouldn't be too happy about it. This is what I told my parents 2 years ago, and my mom kind of flipped out, and we decided to make a compromise. So I went to Ecuador instead 2 summers ago, and I was in Ecuador for about 2 months, and the whole time I was thinking, oh, I got to go to Colombia. I got to go to Colombia. I don't know why. I guess I really like Fernando Bortero, he's an artist there. And so after 2 months in Ecuador, I worked up the courage. I didn't tell my mom or dad, and I took a bus to Colombia. And a couple days before I left, I was in Ecuador and I was talking to different travelers who'd been coming down from Colombia. And I heard the most terrible stories you've heard in your life. Like one guy says, if you're in Colombia and you're wearing green cargo pants, they're just going to shoot you on the spot because they'll mistake you as guerrillas or paramilitary or vice versa. Just never make eye contact or talk to anyone on a public bus because you never know who you're going to offend, and you'll end up with your throat slit because you said the wrong thing on a bus. And I heard all these, also when you're on the street and somebody hands you a flyer and you're in the street, never touch a flyer because it's going to be soaked in some chemical that's going to make you pass out, and they're going to steal your kidneys after you go unconscious. And so I heard about maybe 5,000 variations of these different stories as I was going out. So I felt like I was a basket case basically, and I took a bus up to Bogota, and I got out, and I just the first thing I did is I got in a taxi and I put the hood. I was wearing a raincoat. I just put the hood of my raincoat over my face and I just tied it. And I sat in the back seat and I locked the doors and I was just like, let's go to the hotel. I don't want to make eye contact with anyone. I don't want to talk to anyone on the streets. Don't want to pick up any flyers. And so, yeah, he dropped me off at a hotel, and it was a recommended hostel that a lot of people had told me it was a good hostel. So I went in, and it had a DVD room, ping pong table, and free internet access, and it was about $8 a night. So I thought, oh, this is awesome. I'm going to stay here for a month, 2 months. So I got in the hostel, and I got to meet some other people that had been there. And there was I noticed a lot of people were from Switzerland and England, and they had been in Colombia for 5 months or 2 years. It was crazy. All the people I met that had been there for years. I was like, oh, what are you guys doing here so long? And so it was just strange to meet all these people that just totally disconnected from their countries, and they had good countries like Switzerland and England, and I didn't know why people would do that. So I just went along with it, and I played a little ping pong, and I met the people in the hostel, but I didn't really want to leave the hostel. So I spent the first week, I didn't do anything but play ping pong and use the internet. And one day I got up early before everyone in the hostel. I started to brush my teeth, and some guy knocks on the door. I answered the door. It was a Colombian guy. He says, how would you like to make $45 today? I said, oh, okay, that sounds good. So he says, yeah. He says, get dressed. He says, meet me out in front of the hostel in 20 minutes. I said, all right. So I went to my room, I got dressed, I came out, and I was in front of the hostel, and there was about 20 other people from the hostel that were waiting out front. And I said, what are you guys doing out here? And he said, oh, you didn't hear? They're filming a Telenovela, a Spanish soap opera, at the hotel here, and we're going to get paid as extras. Oh, that's cool. So I got in a taxi, and I went to this hotel, and they dressed me up in a suit and tie, and I was sitting in the hotel lobby, and I was watching them film 2 ladies in a restaurant. They're dialogue, and 2 hours passed and nothing happened. I was just watching these people talk this whole time, and then the director's assistant comes up to me and says, "Okay, I got the perfect job for you." I said, "All right, cool." He says, "Go grab that luggage rack, put some luggage on it, and stand in front of that sign." And I said, "Why?" And he said, "Well, we're supposed to be filming in Argentina, and it's a sign that says Tequendama Hotel, Bogota." And he says, "You need to block that sign so as we film in the lobby, they can't tell that it's not Argentina." I said, "Okay." So I got my luggage card, and my job was I just stood in front of the sign for 3 hours as they filmed. And it was kind of, and then at the end of the day, I said, I wasn't really expecting to get paid for it, but he said, "Okay, here's $45, good job." He says, "Come back again tomorrow." I said, "All right, that sounds good." So I went back to the hotel, and then I came back the next day. Same people I was with, sitting in the lobby again. The guy says, "Okay, we're going to give you a dialogue. You're going to have a script, and you need to memorize the script." I said, "Okay." I hope hope you're going to give me this little extra money. The last job was a little easier than that, but so they gave me like a 4-page script, and I had to read the 4 pages, and I think I had like 3 lines out of that script I had to memorize. So I practiced it with like 2 other extras for an hour, and then the director comes up to me and says, "Okay, tell me your script, tell me your 3 lines." And I just told her I couldn't do it. My mind just was totally blank, and I was just like sweating bullets. Man, and you guys are gonna have to throw me out. I can't do it. I told the guy, he said, "No, just read it. Just read it." And I said, "Okay." So I kind of like read line for line, and he says, "All right, go on in 15 minutes." You're going, and I said, "Oh God." So it went on. He says, "Okay." Then 2 guys came in behind me, 2 other guys that were supposed to be like American businessmen with me, and I was like the head American businessman. And so we're on, and they start filming, and 2 Colombian guys walk in. They're the extra. They're the Colombian businessmen. And the guy comes up to me and he speaks in English, and he says something to me, and I says, "Oh, I'm very annoying. I want to speak to Andres Pereira." Totally the worst, like totally like I couldn't even understand what I was saying when I was saying it. And the Colombian guy was awesome. He like when he heard this, his whole face became animated. He got really angry, and he kind of like spun around, and it was the most incredible reaction I've ever had anyone do something that didn't even make sense. He just went through it was incredible. And then he said something back to me, and then I said something back to him. And then he looked at his co-star, and he ran around the room, and he was just the craziest guy I've ever met in my life. And so it went on like this, and I said 3 lines, and I couldn't even understand what I was saying, but it got the most incredible reaction. The guy was like Robin Williams. I can't describe it. So he was running around. Every time I said something, he just got more excited and angry, and then happy, and then he would run around, and it was just brilliant. And I was just standing there. I don't know what's going on. And so after my 3rd line, it was our job to kind of like walk off the set. So I walked off, and the 2 guys are behind me, and I'm walking off. And so I go off the camera, and I open the door, and I ran my knee through the wall of the set. I was so nervous, I couldn't get through the door, and the whole thing starts shaking. I said, "Oh God!" And I look back at the director, figuring he's going to come and strangle me. I look back, and the guy's just rolling on the ground laughing. So I couldn't believe it. I was like, "All right." And so I guess we managed to do the take, and I feel like I completely ruined the take, but it worked out, and ever since then, I got to do 2 episodes in Colombia, and I was really happy, and I didn't get my kidney stolen or anything, so I had a great time in Colombia, and hopefully I'm going to go back sometime.